Let's do another CRUD video. CRUD stands for Create, Retrieve, Update, and Delete. Here we've got a simple web page, and I've done similar ones almost identical to this, but I'm going to do it again for practice sake. We've got a couple headers here. The top header says pay bills, the bottom header just has my name with the copyright symbol and a date. Then we have a section here to the left. As you can see, it's got a red border, and then we have a section here to the right, which also has a red border. We have a variety of rows here that are under the heading Bill. We've got over here on the left a select element that has different options to choose from. So when you select any of these in the drop down, that information gets transferred over here to the right. And then anything that you type in these input areas will go into the appropriate columns: amount, due, paid, and details as well. So let me delete everything. Let's say rent. Just make a little example here. $400 due May 1st, paid not yet, details none. Click your pay bill. There you have developed a table and you have populated a row. Let's hit edit. All this information that populated will get repopulated over here to the left again, allowing you to make changes. Let's say you paid on May 4th. Details, $35 late fee. Click update, and now your information has been updated. And let's see, if you want to hit edit again, populates in all these areas again, but then you say you change your mind, you're like, oh no, I don't have to change that, all that stuff is right. So you can click the clear button and all of these areas will go back to their default state. Okay, this delete button right here gets rid of the whole row altogether, and I think that's basically how the whole thing functions. Let me do the cheap and easy style sheet first. For the body of the web page, we have margin, padding, font family, and overflow settings. For the H5 header, which I used that for the top and the bottom here, we've got color, text align, margin, and padding set. For the label element, we gave it a display of block, and the labels are all here. They're bill, amount, due, paid, and details. Those are all labels. Our field sets are like little containers that hold each one of these. There's a field set that holds this bill with the select and options. There's a field set that holds this label amount with a place to an input area here to input text. There's another field set that holds the label due with the input to enter data for due dates. There's a field set that holds the paid label along with this text area, and another field set that holds the label details with our input area to type in something about details. There's a final text area which houses these two buttons, the pay bill and the clear. So all of these field sets here to the left have margin and background set. I Z'd out padding. If I put the padding of 5 pixels back in here and show you, it changes what it looks like here. So you can play with the padding all you want. Right now I'm just going to misspell it and not use that. Alright, after the field set we have inputs and selects. The input is this little area where you can input information. Those are the inputs. The select is what has these options that you can make choices. It's basically what creates your drop-down list. The input and the select have the following things set. They've got width, border radius, padding, left, and font size set. Again, I could have given it a different height, but I've Z'd it out so it's not executing that. So it's only actually executing 4 styles for input and select. Select by itself has its own background color, and again, if you want your input to have a certain height, you likely want to have your select to have the same height. So here height was 30 pixels, here line height would be 30 pixels if you want this that says rent to have the same height as these things that you're typing data into. Alright, buttons. We have a variety of buttons. We have pay bill, clear, edit, and delete buttons, and all of those buttons share these two styles, font size setting and a width setting. The table that actually gets populated over here on the right part of the screen has these three things set: the border collapse, the margin, and the width. Table, table header, and table data cells share styles for border, for padding, and for margin. The table header has styles for width, text align, and background color. And these are the table headers. Here you see bill, then you see amount, due, paid, details, and action. Those are all the table headers. Then we have elements that have a class name, and class head and class foot share these styles: background color, border, padding, margin, font family, and color. And those class head and class foot are how we stylize this section and the bottom section. Alright, then we have a class called foot. Well, we have head and foot sharing these styles, but then foot by itself has this style. It has a style for clear. Then we have a class of container, which the div that has the class of container holds everything. It basically is the outermost shell to all of this. And it's got the width set, it's got a minimum width, it's got a float, and a background color. I started off with a border of thick blue outset, but then I z'd it out. You could give it a border if you want to, and then you'll see this blue border that goes all the way around everything, because the container is all the way around everything. But I really don't like seeing that extra, made it look a little too busy, so I misspelled it so it wouldn't execute. Okay, then we have class left bar, comma, class right bar. Left bar is this section on the left where we enter data. Right bar is the section where JavaScript populates a table with rows. Anyway, both of them were given a border. Then individually, the class of left bar got its own width, float, and height, and then the class of right bar got its own width, margin, left, height, and overflow. Then we've got some elements that have IDs, not classes, but IDs. So we have something with a class of table rows, which we gave the font color white. And that's what you can see right here, rent, and then all this other random stuff. Color white, because white shows best on a black background, like a checkboard. Then the element that has pound submit and pound edit, which means ID submit and ID edit, have these styles that they share: the background color of dark green, the color of lime, and the border of thick green outset. So you can see that the submit button would be what says pay bill here, and the edit button is way up here in the table. Alright, and then we're almost done. Then we have the ID of clear and the ID of delete. Those two buttons with those two different IDs share a background color, a color, and a border. The background color is dark blue, the color, which is the font color, is aqua, and the border is a thick blue outset. So that's everything for this external style sheet. So we'll close this up. Now let's look at the index.html. And I want to just run through this as quick as possible because my videos always take way too long. So I'm just going to start at the top and go all the way down. There's an opening HTML tag, opening head tag, opening and closing title tags. Here is how you link to the external style sheet that has the name of style.css. The meta char set is set, character set is set at UTF-8. Then we have meta name equals viewport, and the content is assigned to width equals device width and initial scale equals 1.0. Then we have the link to the external JavaScript that has the name of action.js. And then there's our closing head tag. So it's everything in the head tag, so you might as well close it up. Next we have our opening body tag, and its onload event is going to call the init function. And we'll look at the init function when we get to the action.js file, but we're not there yet. After that we have a div with a class equals container, followed by a header with a class set to head. Inside of the header tags we have an h5 pair for the h5 header. It just says pay bills, and that's what you see right here. Alright, so then after the header tag we have an aside that has a class set to left bar. Now we're looking over here to the left. This is our aside that's called left bar. We have many field sets. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 field sets. So let's look at the first field set, which starts on 27 and ends on 44. We have label for bill, the word bill, the ending label tag. Then our select has the ID of bill. So when you see label for bill, that's the label for this particular element that has the ID of bill, which is our select drop-down list right here with options. Let's look at the options. The first option, value equals rent, the word rent, and then a closing option tag. And that's what you see first, a capitalized word rent. That's what you see in between the tags, and then the value is lowercase. When we're actually utilizing it in code, we're going to use this value. When we're looking at like key value pairs when we create an object and stuff. Alright, the next after rent is electric, followed by Sonata, followed by caddy repair, followed by cell phones. So that's really what all the rest of these are options. There's the option for the electric, the option for the Sonata, the option for the caddy repair, and the option for cell phones. We have a closing select tag and a closing field set tag. So there's our first field set. Let's close it up. Let's look at our next field set that goes from 47 to 52. Now we're looking at this right here and this. So inside this field set we have label for amount, the word amount, the closing label tag, and then the input. We actually type data in. Input, type equals text, placeholder equals enter amount, ID equals amount. Close up the field set. There's that field set. I'm going to do the same thing for the next field set. Field set, label for due, the text due, the ending label tag, the input, type equals text, placeholder equals enter due date, ID equals due, ending field set. Alright, the one after that is here. You can just pause the video if you need to copy it directly. And here's the field set for details. And then this field set starts on line 75 and goes to 83. This is the field set that has the buttons in it. We have a break tag here just to get a little bit of space before the button. And here's the button. Button ID equals submit on click equals pay bill. So we're calling a function here by clicking on this button right here. And you see on the face of the button it says pay bill, and then our ending button tag. Then after this button we have another button right here. This button has an ID of clear, and the on-click event for clicking this button down here we'll call the clear it JavaScript function, which again we'll look at last. Here's the ending field set, the ending aside. So now we've done everything in this particular aside. So let's close it up. Aside class equals left bar. Close that whole thing up. Let's look at the aside that has the class of right bar. Now we're dealing with everything here with the black background. We've got table, ID equals reg table. Then we have a tag that says T head. Inside of that we have TR tags, which stand for table row. And inside of this table row we have headers. The first header is for bill. Then the next header is for amount, due, paid, details, action, ending table row tag, and ending TH or T head tag. So this is what the output is for that. It's all of this stuff here with the gray background and black font. Now JavaScript populates all these rows based on the stuff that we type in here or the stuff that we select in the dropdown. So we have plain old tag tbody id equals table rows and then a closing tbody tag. Our closing table tag and our closing aside, because our JavaScript is what's going to create anything that shows up in between these two tags. Alright, so that's that aside, which is to the table creation, the table rows here. Alright, so we looked at the aside class left bar, the aside class right bar. We're almost done. We just have a little footer tag here. Class is set to foot. There's an H5 header inside that contains Lisa Woodson and copy 2017. This code right here gives us the copyright symbol that you see right here. End your div, end your body, end your HTML. Okay, so you've looked at everything from top to bottom for the web page itself. Now let's look at that JavaScript. The first thing is we've got a couple of global variables that are outside of all of the functions. So they can be utilized by all of the functions. The first one is var selected index equals -1, and the next one is var bills array equals an empty array. Let's look at that init function. Let's close up all of these and look at these one at a time as quickly as possible for practice sake. Function init document.getElementById parentheses and quotes table rows dot enter HTML equals an empty string. And we have an if condition. If local storage dot bills record, well, if we do have some local storage for our bills record, then what we do is this. Bills array equals json.parse, and in parentheses we have local storage.bills record. Next, after that, we have a for loop. For var I equals 0, as long as I is less than bills array.length, then I++. Well, what are we going to loop? We are going to call prepare table cell. That's a function that we'll read shortly, but this is calling it. And inside of the parentheses, we're filling it up with arguments. I, comma, bills array index I dot bill, comma, bills array index I dot amount, comma, bills array index I dot due, comma, bills array index I dot paid, comma, and finally bills array dot index I dot details. So that's preparing all these table cells right here. From there to there. There's the end the end of the for loop, there's the end of the if condition, and there's the end of the init. So all of those closing curly braces to nest all that stuff inside. Let's close up the init. Let's look at function paybill. This is what happens when you click on this paybill button down there. We have var bill equals document.getElementById parentheses and quotes bill.value. Then we have var amount equals document.getElementById parentheses close amount.value. After that, we have var due equals document.getElementById parentheses quotes due.value. Then, I'm sure you're seeing the pattern, var paid equals document.getElementById parentheses quotes paid.value. Followed by var details equals document.getElementById parentheses quotes details.value. And after that, we are going to create an object. As you can see, this is a comment for object. We use the var keyword to create bill obj, short for object. So bill object equals, and in curly braces, we have key value pairs. So bill colon bill, comma, amount colon amount, comma, due colon due, comma, paid colon paid, comma, and details colon details. No comma because we don't have anything following that. But we close that object up with our curly brace and we end the whole statement with our semicolon. So there's the end of the object. Alright, then we have an if-else condition to decide if existing item gets updated or a new item gets inserted. So here's our if condition. If selected index triple equals -1, If that's true, then this will run. billsArray.push parentheses bill object. Now, if this is not true, then we're not going to insert. This is for an insert. Down here, this is for an update. So we have our else. We will do this. billsArray.splice parentheses selected index, comma 1, comma bill object. And then here's the ending for the else. Here's the ending of the if, and here's the ending of the else. The next statement is this one, local storage.billsRecord.json.stringify parentheses billsArray. After that statement, we call the init function again, and then after that, we call the clearit function. So the paybill function does what it does, plus it calls two other functions before it is done. And there's the finishing curly brace for the paybill function. Let's go back up here, close that up. Let's look at this function. Function prepare table cell. Now here we are creating the function. So what is in the parentheses are called parameters. These are things that must be answered to when you call the function. Function prepare table cell. And in the parentheses we have index, bill, amount, due, paid, and details. Here's our opening curly brace for that function. Let's open it up and see how many statements we have inside of it. We have var table equals document.getElementById by ID, parentheses and quotes table rows. Var row equals table.insert row, empty parentheses. Var bill cell equals row.insert cell, parentheses 0. Var amount cell equals row.insert cell, parentheses 1. Var due cell equals row.insert cell, parentheses 2. Var paid cell equals row.insert cell, parentheses 3. Var detail cell equals row.insert cell, parentheses 4. Var action cell equals row.insert cell, parentheses 5. Then we have all of these things that are going to fill up the cell's inner HTML, which is all this stuff. This is all the inner HTML of all these cells. So whatever the variable amount has, whatever value is inside the variable amount, amount cell.inner HTML is going to be assigned that. We're going to do the same thing with due. Due cell.inner HTML equals due. Paid cell.inner HTML equals paid. Detail cell.inner HTML equals detail. And this was a little bit longer. Action cell.inner HTML equals, here's the action cell. We've got a couple of buttons in there. So here we have to actually, in single quotes, we have to put web page tags in here to create these web page elements, these buttons. So in our single quotes, we have all of this. Opening button tag, ID equals edit, on click equals edit row, whoops, and then in parentheses we have in another set of single quotes, plus index plus, close up that inner single quote, close up the parenthesis, close up the double quote, and then close up the button's opening tag. After the button's opening tag, we have the word edit, which is what you can see right here. Right here. And then we have our closing HTML button tag. We have a break tag, and we have another button tag. Here's the opening. Here's the opening button tag for the second one. Button ID equals delete. On click equals delete table row. And because we are calling delete table row in from clicking this delete button, in the parentheses we have also in quotes plus index plus. You close up your single quote, your parenthesis, your double quote, and your tag. After that opening button tag, we have the word delete, and then a closing button tag, and then our final single quote and semicolon, which closes up this entire long-winded statement. This curly brace is our end to the prepare table cell function. So let's close this up. Done with that. Now we did this one, this one, this one. let's look at function delete table row index. This means when we're trying to get rid of a particular row, all we have to do is hit the delete button that's in that row and makes the whole row disappear. So let's open up that. Function delete table row parentheses index. The first thing we do is billsarray.splice parentheses index comma 1. Then we have this long statement, local storage.billsRecord equals json.stringify parentheses billsarray. Finally, we call the init function again, and then we're done with the delete table row. So that one was pretty quick and easy. Let's look at the function clear it, which is what happens when we click this clear button right here. First thing that happens is selected index equals -1. Then document.getElementById parentheses double quotes bill.value equals rent. That means that when you hit the clear button, it doesn't matter what was selected here. When you click clear, rent is the default. So this is how you create that default. When you hit the clear button, this is how you make the default for the amount. The amount value is not zeroed out, but it's an empty string. So document.getElementById parentheses double quotes amount.value is an empty string. Document.getElementById parentheses and quotes do.value equals an empty string. Document.getElementById parentheses quotes paid.value equals an empty string. And document.getElementById parentheses quotes details.value equals an empty string. And then finally, we have document.getElementById parentheses submit, which is still talking about the submit button here. .enter.html equals the string pay bill. So when we click pay bill, we get a row. When we click edit, all that information comes here. When we click clear, this button will no longer say update, it will say pay bill again. That's what this statement does. And here's the curly brace for the clear it function. So now we can close that up. And we have one more function, and this function is called function edit row parentheses index. So depending on the index of the particular row, if you have 5 or 6 or 20 rows, when you click edit, it's only going to take the information for that particular row and populate our insert and select here to allow us to make changes. So let's see what happens when you click this edit button. Function edit row parentheses index. First thing that happens is this, selected index equals index. That's the first line of code. The next line is var bill object equals bills array straight brackets index. Next, document.getElementById parentheses and quotes bill.value equals bill object.bill. Document.getElementById parentheses and quotes amount.value equals bill object.amount. Document.getElementById parentheses double quotes do.value equals bill object.do. Document.getElementById parentheses quotes paid.value equals bill object.paid. And again, I'm sure you can notice the pattern. Document.getElementById parentheses and quotes details.value equals bill object.details. And last but not least, document.getElementById parentheses and quotes submit.enter HTML equals update. So when we click edit row, this says update. When we click clear, it says pay bill again. If I click delete, it goes away. If I click pay bill, we get a row, and we can put anything we want in any of these. Pay bill, there we got that. We want to delete, it disappears. We want to edit, it puts it back here for us to change our mind. It says update. I click update and it says pay bill. I hit edit to update it. whether I update it or not, this says update, but if I click clear, it says pay bill as well. Alright, and that is every piece of the code. It's the HTML, it's the CSS, it's the JavaScript.